So this is our living room, and this is a room of two halves. Originally, when we first moved here, it was two separate rooms, a kind of a front and a back sitting room. But for us, we wanted to open it up, let the light flow through the room, and make it much more of a bigger family space. And as the years have gone by, with the configurations have changed, the sofas have changed, and how we use the space has changed. And what I wanted to show you in here, this half of the room, is we use much less frequently, to be honest with you. These were our original sofas that were in the other half, but we've now got a corner sofa in the other room and then moved these over to here. And then we've got a nice little reading area there. But this room is kind of more of a, when the whole family get together, we can use both halves all as one. And I can keep this area always much tidier and have a bit more fun with accessories and playing around within the space. I've got plants to soften it and make it feel more alive. And again, different accessories that I can play around and move with in the space. So spatial planning within this side of the living room, I've kind of moved it around quite a few times because I've just been testing out to see, I mean, it's useful for when I'm working with clients, but also, you know, I've settled on this configuration because we come in the door from over there, but I have tried it where we've had both sofas either side. And this feels the least formal. This feels like there's easy ways to get through it. I've got a circular coffee table, which initially was a dining room table, but I cut the legs off to make it the coffee table height. And just mixed in with some other vintage pieces of furniture. This configuration feels like the most natural and easy flowing configuration for us. The paint colours that I finally chose in this room are old ochre for the walls from Fired Earth, and I had a lot of time testing. I tried out having jonquil from Edward Bulmer and also setting plaster from Farrow & Ball. I loved all three of these colours, but this one just was a little less pink. It had a little bit more peach in it, which tended to work with the colours and the tone of this room being that bit darker. And the woodwork in here, we've got skimming stone along with our lead white that we have throughout the house. And skimming stone on the woodwork, I just wanted it to be just a little bit of a warmer colour, and it tones in really nicely with the old ochre on the walls. Again, in this room, I've used a lighter colour on the walls. I've done this because it's darker, but also I've got a lot of bright coloured pictures and paintings and different accessories dotted around the room. With the lighting in this room, because we've got all the beautiful original cornicing and the ceiling rose, I kept the pendant light fitting, and I bought two beautiful vintage coloured glass chandeliers that I wanted to mirror in both sides of the room, that even though they're different with their furniture, they've got a similar, they're not identical chandeliers, but they've got a similarity within their style, just to kind of cohesively bring them both together. And then around the room, I've got lots of little side lights that are on a different circuit to the main lights. So I can play with task lights, ambient lighting. I'm going to really play with the different levels of lighting within this space. These two rooms on the whole are the darkest rooms in our house, kind of just where the trees are outside, kind of northeasterly and southwesterly facing. So I've had to kind of bring in a lot of extra lighting to help lift the space and kind of have the extra warmth coming around the room spaces. Again, in this room, the beautiful aspects that we inherited from it being an Edwardian property were the fantastic fireplaces and also the original bell that was in here from its early days as a nursing home. So I've kind of wanted to incorporate the original features as well as bringing in new modern aspects to the room. In this side of the living room, to kind of make it feel like it was still part of the whole room, but it is more of a family area and it is facing towards the television, we chose much lower backed sofas, because then it doesn't make it feel that it's cut off. Even though you've got your back to the room, you're still at a low level height, which makes it feel much more inclusive in the space. We've got paintings in here that we've had for years that have meant a lot to us, that, you know, I wanted to make sure stay in this room, and it works really well with all of the new paint colour that we've got in here. Again, this room is painted also in old ochre from Fired Earth, and the kind of two rooms, even though it's the same paint colour, because the lighting's different from, you know, north to south, the different tones of the same colour change during the day. And this room always feels a little bit lighter than the other half of the room. As this room is more of our cosy, relaxing area, I've got a much larger rug on the floor, taking up more of the space, but also absorbing the sound and keeping it warmer. I've got more textural cushions and a sheepskin and some throws on here, just again to bring in more of a soft, more relaxed space, more of a family environment. This armchair we've had for years. My husband designed it when we first had children so that it could fit himself and one of the children. It's lasted really well, but it's due to have a new makeover and have some new fabric and new cushion pads, giving it a new lease of life. The room's evolved over time, but it's always kind of kept that core essence of it being a family space and a place where we all kind of hang out, relax together. Because the two rooms now make it quite a large space, to kind of keep it warmer in the winter, and also if we're using the two spaces separately, I had curtains made that you can draw between the room. The curtains are double-sided fabric, so they're much warmer, heavier curtains. They're really sound absorbing, and they're also great to keep the warmth in. So in the winter, when we've got the log burner on, I draw the curtains. It then becomes a much cozier, warmer, inviting space to be in. With this living room, we inherited the fabulous wood burner with the original tiles that came with it. And I wouldn't necessarily have chosen that kind of rusty, earthy colour for the tiles, but I've embraced it and kind of brought it into the other colours into the room and kind of worked colours with it that nicely complement in with the scheme. The painting up above the fireplace, again, we've had since we first met before we got married, and it's been a real integral part of how this room was designed. It was my kind of focal piece to choose colours from, and I wanted to make sure that it would be that kind of mix of modern and old, and it's one of my favourite styles. It's got a very impressionist, painterly feel to it, but that real mix of lots of colours within one painting. And again, I can pick many of the colours out of the painting and use within the accessories within the space. The shelving that I have in this room is for me, it's my own moving gallery wall. I have fun with that shelving. I can, in the early days, I used to have books all on it, but actually, as our lives are changing, we don't have as many books out to read. I keep my workbooks more in my workroom for more design books, but this space is much more where I have a bit more fun and I change it with the seasons, and I can have a play with all the accessories on there. And it's kind of like my little gallery wall that I can change around as and when I want to. A key aspect of my style, which is an eclectic element, and I don't think I'm a maximalist. I think I'm very much a kind of mixture of styles, but everything has its place. And for me, it's important that, although for some it may feel cluttered, but to me, I've positioned everything specifically to trying to get the height, trying to get the space, trying to get the colour combinations, and trying to make that cohesive look between everything, whether it's the height of the flowers or the lampshade, which has got a pattern on it that then ties the colours in between those and the candles. And again, the same colour within the cushions. For me, it's important to get that kind of cohesive all-round feel that isn't cluttered. It's a mix of old and new, but it's got its place and it's got a reason why it's there.